Hi, welcome back to A Moment with Marta. So this week I want to talk about sensory overload. What is sensory overload? So obviously we all have our five senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. And sensory overload is exactly what it sounds like. So you have any of your senses. Basically your brain is processing all kinds of information from your environment, wherever you're at, whether you're at home, you're in a school or the workplace, in some other kind of public setting in the community. Your brain is constantly picking up signals and just processing everything that it's receiving. So for somebody with autism, their brain is processing information in a very different way, and it can put some of those senses on overload, and sometimes you don't even realize it until you're just completely overwhelmed by the sensation. So some different examples of some sensory overload is I, for example, have sensitivity to sunlight. I always have. The sun hurts my eyes. I have to use sunglasses every time I go outside, even if it's overcast. Something about the brightness of the light just hurts my eyes and it triggers a headache. So I always have to keep sunglasses with me. I keep them in my car, in my purse, so I always have them when I go outside. I also will all of a sudden just get very overwhelmed by the sensations of being hot or cold or hungry. It's not a thing where I gradually start to feel those things and then think, oh, I'll go and grab a jacket, or oh, I need to go adjust the thermostat so that there's more airflow, or I'm gonna go grab a snack. It's just all of a sudden a 180 where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so hot. And freeze my husband out because I get to where I'm almost panicking because the sensation just envelops me and I have no control over it. I feel when I'm in crowds, I just feel overwhelmed by sensations of anxiety, and I just feel the walls kind of closing in on me, and I start to hyperventilate. I have to get out of that situation, otherwise I will have a panic attack. So those are just a few examples of how I personally have some sensory overload. Some other examples might be hearing noises louder than you might normally. Maybe your hearing is really sensitive. So picture, a hearing aid. A hearing aid picks up every single sound at the same exact volume. So when people that are hard of hearing use a hearing aid, it can help, but it's difficult to filter out every single sound. It picks up every sound at the same volume. So imagine that that's how you're hearing things. It's overwhelming and it hurts your ears. You can't filter things out. So something that my daughter uses when she's in the cafeteria at school and it's just really loud in there, she uses noise canceling headphones. At the end of the day, my ears are tired. I have listener's fatigue just from the day, and I'll get to the point where I start to feel very anxious, so I'll put on my noise canceling headphones. Actually, I'll show them to you. They're really inexpensive. I got mine on Amazon. So this is the brand, and they just go on like this. They just kind of muffle some of that sound and help you to be able to filter it out. But I also really like them because I like the pressure. I like the pressure against my head. It is very calming and soothing, and it helps me to kind of start to relax and helps all of that pent-up anxiety that I have in my body just start to relax and help me to calm myself before I get so worked up that I might have a panic attack. So that's an example for hearing, an example for sight. Some people are super sensitive to smells, and I mean, even to the point of they smell certain things and it just makes them gag. Or some people are super sensitive to things that they taste, whether it's the texture of the food or they just can't tolerate certain things. So there's a lot of people that are on the spectrum that have a small variety of foods that they can tolerate, that they can eat, and it's a myth for people in this situation that, oh, if they're hungry, they'll eat. That's kind of the old school of thought, and for a lot of kids, if it's just behavioral, they're just kind of being picky, they don't want to try something, yeah, that works. But for somebody that's having some sensory processing issues when it comes to eating, it doesn't work. They literally will starve themselves. And so parents that have children that are just super sensitive with eating, they usually have to work with a dietitian and do feeding therapy, and there's a lot of things involved. It can be very difficult for people that struggle with eating, with swallowing, with those kinds of things. So it can be a very scary, sensory need, and something that a person really has to work through. For touch, some people can have either like a really desensitized sense of touch, like my son. So when he bumps into something, it might normally really hurt somebody else, but it doesn't faze him. So if he were to like throw himself down on the ground, he could really hurt himself and not realize it. There's other people, like my daughter, who are super sensitive to touch, and she has to wear certain types of clothing. She can't wear jeans because they hurt her skin. It's very uncomfortable for her body. It feels weird. And so she's just very sensitive to certain types of textures and fabrics that touch her skin. She's a lot more sensitive to temperature, so she gets cold very easily. She prefers to be very toasty warm, always has been, even as a baby. So that's just some examples of some sensory overload. Some tools that can help, the noise canceling headphones. My son can't stand to be hugged, but we use a weighted vest. It just has these weights in there that we can pull out or add in as much as we want or feel like he needs. And for him, it's the sensation of getting a hug. So he really craves that deep pressure, but he doesn't want it from a hug. So he has a weighted blanket, he has a weighted vest. It's very calming and soothing for him. We use a lot of visual things like this that he just really gets mesmerized by. It's very soothing and calming, so that's a nice tool. The mermaid stuff is nice because it's just kind of a nice texture that's really fun. My son also likes really soft things, so he has blankets and stuffed animals that he'll just kind of rub and touch, but he also likes things that light up, so things with soothing lights that spin are a win, or that are just calming sensory lights. We have some of those too. Those are really good. I use essential oils a lot. This is my blend that's liquid Xanax. Super calming. I rub this on. I diffuse oils in a diffuser, and I always wear a diffuser bracelet or a necklace. So I rub some oil on, usually the liquid Xanax, when I'm going out, especially if I'm going to be in a situation where I know I'm going to experience some anxiety. Like driving to a place that I've never been before is very scary for me. I get a lot of anxiety about it. So I'll put that on my diffuser bracelet, and then just periodically throughout the drive, as I get to stop signs or to red lights, I'll just smell it, and it's just instantly calming. There's also, like the squishy things. That's really, really calming for me. But I also have this, if I just need something that I can grip a little bit tighter, that gives me the input that I need to kind of help calm my body. I also really like, when I was a kid, we called them worry rocks. They're just like really smooth. It's just something little that I can just kind of rub, just small, just rub in my hand, and it's very soothing and calming. So there's lots of tools out there. Some people, they have an oral fixation. They need to chew on something. I mean, people do that anyway. They'll chew on straws or whatever, but some kids or individuals need to chew on something regularly, and so they might have like a necklace where they can just kind of chew on it when they feel like they need to, and it's just a mechanism for self-soothing and calming. So that's literally what sensory overload is. It's not something that you have a conscious choice or decision in. It's something that your brain is just processing the information in your environment differently, and just literally overloads that that sense or those senses. In some cases, it can be multiple senses at once, and that can be very scary. It leaves you with just knots in the pit of your stomach, feeling on the verge of panic attacks, or maybe you have a panic attack, you hyperventilate, and that's just, it's a sickening feeling. It's not fun. So understanding that about myself, I just am prepared with different tools. I always have my sunglasses. I have some of these things on my purse. I always keep oils on me, stuff that I know will help me be able to self-soothe. And I send oils to my kids' schools. My son uses his vest at school. He sleeps with his blanket at night. We take certain fidget toys like this, not to fidget for focus necessarily, but as the kids get frustrated and they need to just have a break, then they can have that to just kind of self-soothe and calm their bodies, and just have that mental break as they're preparing for whatever transition is next in their day. So that's what I have to say about sensory overload. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time on A Moment with Marta. Bye.